Citizenship interview preparation. Questions about you. Application form N400, Part 9. Are you honest and responsible? Lesson 10. Questions 22A, 22B, 22C. Did you register for the Selective Service? Part 9. Additional information about you. Questions 22A, 22B, 22C. 22A. Are you a person born as a male who lived in the United States at any time between your 18th and 26th birthdays? Do not select yes if you were a lawful non-immigrant for all of that time period. 22B. If you answered yes to item number 22A, did you register for the Selective Service? 22C. If you answered yes to item number 22B, provide information about your registration. If you answered no to item number 22B, see the specific instructions by item number Part 9, Additional Information About You, of the instructions for more information. Question 22 is about the responsibility of young men to help the United States military if the law requires it. Words: war, military, military service, mandatory and voluntary, military draft, the Selective Service, lawful non-immigrant. War. War is fighting by military groups. Military. Military means the people who protect a country. Most countries have a national military. United States Armed Forces. The Department of Defense is in charge of the military. The military has three main branches: the Army, the Air Force, the Navy. Together, these branches are called the U.S. Armed Forces. Military service. Military service means working for the military. At this time, military service is voluntary in the United States. Voluntary military service means that people can apply to work for the military if they want to, but nobody is forced to work for the military. Voluntary and mandatory. Voluntary. If something is voluntary, we can do it if we want to. We don't have to do it if we don't want to. Mandatory. If something is mandatory, we must do it. We are required to do it. The law says we must do it. Military draft. When the United States is fighting a major war, the Congress can institute a military draft. This is a law that can force people to work for the military. A military draft means military service is not voluntary. Military service is mandatory. Selective Service System. In the United States, all young men must register with the Selective Service System. The Department of Defense uses the Selective Service System to get information about all men in the U.S. who are 18 or older, but younger than 26. The Department of Defense uses this information about all young men if the Congress institutes a military draft. It uses a lottery to choose some of the young men to serve in the military. Registering with the Selective Service System. The website to register with the Selective Service System is sss.gov. Men can register online at this website. The application asks for name, address, Social Security number, date of birth, phone number, and email address. 22A. Are you a person born as a male who lived in the United States at any time between your 18th and 26th birthdays? Do not select yes if you were a lawful non-immigrant for all of that time period. Question 22A asks, are you a person born as a male? Male means man or boy. Born means when your mother gave birth to you. Born as a male means you were a baby boy at the time of your birth. Question 22A also asks, did you live in the United States at any time between your 18th and your 26th birthday? This means, did you live in the United States after your 18th birthday and before your 26th birthday? Did you live in the U.S. when you were 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, or 25 years old? Question 22A also says you should answer no if you were a lawful non-immigrant during the time you lived in the United States between your 18th and 26th birthdays. words: lawful, immigrant, non-immigrant, lawful immigrant, lawful non-immigrant. What is an immigrant? An immigrant is a person from another country who comes to live in the United States permanently. Lawful means legal. A lawful immigrant can live in the United States legally. A lawful immigrant must have a permanent residence card, green card, or U.S. citizenship to live in the United States. What is a non-immigrant? A non-immigrant is a person who comes to stay in the United States temporarily for a short time. A lawful non-immigrant can legally stay in the United States temporarily. A lawful non-immigrant must have a visa or other temporary immigration status to stay in the United States. Temporary status with a visa. Some examples of visas are a student visa, a work visa, a visa for the wife or husband of someone who has a work visa. Other types of temporary status. Some other types of lawful non-immigrant status are temporary protective status, TPS, refugee status, asylum status. What does this mean for you? If you were born as a female, your answer to question 22A is no. Check the no box. Female means woman or girl. Born as a female means you were a baby girl at the time of your birth. If you were born as a female, you are finished with question 22. If you were born as a male and you were 26 years old or older when you immigrated to the United States, your answer to question 22A is no. Check the no box. You are finished with this question. If you are younger than 26 now, did you register for the Selective Service? If your answer is no, you will need to register for the Selective Service before you submit your N400 application. If your answer is yes, you need to write the date you registered and your Selective Service number. If you are 26 or older now, but you were younger than 26 when you immigrated to the United States, did you register for the Selective Service? If your answer is yes, you need to write the date you registered and your selective service number. If your answer is no, you need to explain why you did not register. Write the explanation on an additional sheet of paper and submit it with your N400 form. Many immigrant families do not know about the requirement for young men to register for the selective service. If you did not know about this requirement, you can explain that you didn't know about it. Do you have a son who immigrated to the United States between his 18th and 26th birthday? If your answer is yes, did he register for the selective service? If your answer is yes, he will write his date of registration and selective service number when he applies for citizenship. If your answer is no, he will need to register for the selective service before he applies for citizenship. Remember that registration with the selective service does not mean you need to join the military. The United States does not have a military draft now. This means military service is not mandatory at this time. Military service has been voluntary since the end of the Vietnam War in 1975. Young men are not required to join the military, but they are required to register for the selective service. They will only be required to join the military if the Congress institutes a new military draft. This has not happened since 1975. End of questions 22A, 22B, 22C. Form N400, Part 9.